Welcome to my madness, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be taking a look at this older piece of 6-inch scale DC toy history, the Mattel DC Universe Classics Green Lantern 5-pack. I've been wanting to pick this thing up for a while, primarily because I want Green Gardener, and I believe, except for maybe like a con exclusive or something like that, I believe this was the only way you could get a 6-inch scale DC UC Green Gardener, was you had to buy this 5-pack. Of course, unless you want to go into the aftermarket and pick up, you know, Guy Gardner by himself loose somewhere, in which case he sells for pretty pricey amounts of money. So I'd been looking for a good price on this 5-pack for a while, and I finally found it. I'll go into the price, what I picked this up for, and we'll talk about what the average price of this 5-pack is. We're going to go all over this thing and talk about whether or not picking this thing up today, years after, you know, this thing was released, is it still worth it for a modern collection today? So, you know, we'll take a look at the box here. Not that that's too important. It is a really cool set. So, you know, you can see we've got Hal Jordan, we've got Tomare, we got Sinestro, John Stewart, Guy Gardner right there in the corner. The main reason I bought this. Nice package, big. All the figures look great. We got the back of the package here. We get a little quick biography on all the different characters. Looks cool, great packaging. But let's be honest, we don't care about the packaging. We're going to crack this open, check everything out inside, see how these figures are, and discuss whether or not picking this up is still worth it today. So we've got all the figures here. They're all lined up. I personally think they look great. If you've watched my channel, you know I prefer the older DC UC stuff and DC Direct stuff and 6-inch scale stuff as opposed to like the newer McFarlane figures. I'm not going to go into all of that. But, you know, it is worth at the very least mentioning when it comes to figures like this, when it comes to older Mattel figures, DC UC figures and things like that, you know, if this is something you're interested in, or if because of what's going on with Mattel and the DC license right now is potentially making you interested in some of these older Mattel figures, it's probably a good time to pick them up now, because there is a chance these could go up in value, and it might be a good time to pick some up for a good deal. Just throwing that out there and saying. But we've got all the guys lined up here. Now, one thing you'll notice right off the bat is that 4 of these figures are basically all the same. Your John Stewart, Sinestro, Hal Jordan, Tomari. I think that's how you say his name. I don't remember. They're all on the same buck. The only difference between the 4 of them is going to be the head sculpt and paint apps. And in fact, these 3 right here are all exactly the same when it comes to paint apps. It's just the head sculpt that's different. John Stewart is painted up different, so he's got a different deco. But it is the same buck here as these 3. Guy Gardner here is the one that is different. He does have a different sculpt. Now, I do believe from the knees up to the waist is all the same as these figures, and then the arms are all the same as these figures. But he does have different lower legs with different boots, and he does have a different torso, and then obviously a different head sculpt there. But this, again, is the one that I really got this 5-pack for, because Guy Gardner is my favorite Green Lantern. He always has been. I loved him in Justice League International and all the books that he was in back when I read comics back in the 80s and 90s. I was a huge Guy Gardner fan. You know, I wanted it. I mean, to be honest, I've already got a Hal Jordan in a costume that I like better than this one, so I didn't need that one. It's nice to have John Stewart, and it's nice to have Sinestro in his Green Lantern gear, although that wasn't one I needed. And I didn't really need that one either. Again, mostly got it for the Guy Gardner figure because of the fact that on the aftermarket, Guy Gardner tends to go for $50 and up just by himself, which is ridiculous for just one figure, in my opinion, when you can buy a box set and get a whole bunch of figures for just a little bit more money. And again, we'll talk about the price on that. But this is the one that I got this set for primarily, and I think he looks fantastic. Now, older Mattel figures, DC UC, obviously, some people don't like that articulation scheme. It is older, it is antiquated. You have single jointed elbows, single jointed knees. They've got these kind of T-hip things that go forward and then shoot out like that, and some people don't like that kind of articulation scheme. I'm fine with it. I like these figures, and I'm okay with the articulation not being as good as, you know, Marvel Legends or Mafex or anything like that, because I love the character designs and I love the scale, and I just like these figures better. So I'm okay with dealing with, you know, more antiquated articulation. And these are all exactly the same, as I said, so they all have the exact same articulation scheme. We'll take a look at Hal Jordan here, because again, other than the head sculpts, the rest of them are pretty much all the same. So you've got a good body butt there that I think works with all the characters. And the paint job looks great, and this is more of a classic Hal Jordan look for him, where he's got the green trunks. And I think it looks great. I dig that head sculpt. That head sculpt to me looks absolutely fantastic. We've got, let's go ahead and get Sinestro here again. Same thing, but just look at that head sculpt. That is a fantastic head sculpt. That's way better than the McFarlane head sculpt that McFarlane's used. He's used a couple different ones for Sinestro, but honestly, this is better than both the ones that he's used for Sinestro, as far as I'm concerned. You may disagree, that's fine, but that looks good. And then we've got the guy whose name I can never pronounce correctly. Nice alien character, looks really good. Oh, I dig that. John Stewart, of course, is another one that kind of stands out because he is done up differently. Again, primarily, actually, you know what? I lied there. I'm looking at these two, and this is a different body. Same legs, potentially the same arms, different torso on this John Stewart figure. It is slightly bigger than these three right here. But the main difference, of course, is the paint. The deco on this is very different from these three right here. And this is not my favorite John Stewart armor, or excuse me, costume, I should say. But I still like it, and I'm glad that it's different, because I like that John Stewart kind of stands out from the rest of the Green Lanterns. I think he should. And so I like it. It looks really good, and the head sculpt looks great. The biggest issue with these, when it comes to like when you're looking at the head sculpt like that, obviously, is just going to be because of the plastic is very shiny. And that's something that, you know, I wish wasn't the case, and certainly I can take care of that with a little bit of matte finish to kind of take the shine off that, to make the figures look a little more premium and look nicer. But it'd be nice if you didn't have to do that. But that is one of the drawbacks of these figures, I guess, if we're gonna be honest about it. Now, all the figures do come with a lantern, and they all come with the exact same lantern, okay? And it's a nice lantern, and it's got a little bit of articulation there on the handle, but it's the exact same one for all the lanterns, which I'm okay with. Some people like when every character's lantern is different. I actually don't like that. I think the Green Lanterns should be uniform when it comes to that kind of thing. I know there's some reasons in the comics why some characters have different lanterns. I like that they all have the same lantern. That's me personally. But what do I think of this set? I think this set's great. We're going to do some comparisons here with some other 6-inch scale stuff so you guys can see where these might fit in with your collection. But just in general, I really like everything about these. I think this is a good scattering of characters that you can pick up one box set and have yourself a nice Green Lantern display all in one and done. And of course you can add to that later on. That's awesome. But you don't have to, because you've got like your main Green Lanterns right there. Outside of, I would probably say Kyle Rayner, obviously, is going to be the biggest hole in this lineup. Some may say Jessica Cruz or something like that, or Simon, what's his face? I've never even read about that. Never read him in the comics, but I know some people like him, whatever. But I mean, to me, obviously, Kyle Rayner is the big hole here in this lineup. But you still got a nice display just from this. So let's go ahead, take a look at these figures compared with some other figures and see how they stack up. All right, so first up, I wanted to compare it to a couple of higher end figures. Of course, these are imports. We've got Revoltech here, Deathstroke, and Mafex Batman. This is what is this one called? The Dark Knight Crusader. I can't even remember which one that one is. I think it's the newest Batman they released. Both fantastic figures. And when you got them sitting here with Hal Jordan right there, I think this is a perfect scale here. In fact, the only thing I can really say is that maybe Revoltech's a little too small, but comparing with Mafex there, Hal Jordan looks absolutely fantastic next to Batman. So now we got in with a couple of other figures here. We've got a DC Direct Hal Jordan Spectre and a DC Icons Batman. Now, DC Icons have always run a little bit small, and I think this is a little small comparison here with DC UC. But as far as having, DC UC Hal Jordan Green Lantern getup versus, DC Direct's Spectre Hal Jordan, I think that's just spot on. I think that looks perfect right next to each other. So again, whether you're collecting just DC UC or you're collecting DC Direct, or even if you do collect DC Icon stuff, I think it pretty much works with anything in all the different types of figures out there available that you could pick up if you're a DC collector. All right, so now we got a couple other imports here. On the right, we've got, MCU Captain America from SH Figure Arts. On the left, we got Deadpool from Mezco. Now, I don't think either one of these really go well with DC UC. Very different stylings and things like that. Mezcos tend to be shorter and squatter figures for the most part, and you can certainly see that here. And SH Figure Arts tend to be just smaller in stature altogether, height-wise, body build, all that kind of stuff. But at least it gives you an idea of, if you have some imports in your collection, what these might look like with. And lastly here, some of the more popular 6-inch scale figures out on the market today. Of course, we've got a Marvel Legends Spider-Man and a Jada Toys Ken from Street Fighter. And Hal Jordan's actually a little bit taller than both of them. I think he works really, really well with the Spider-Man there. I think that's a good combo. Those two look great together. If you wanted to do like a Marvel versus DC display, I think that would work really nice. Obviously, the style with the Street Fighter figures is much, much different than DC UC or even Marvel Legends, so they don't quite fit together as well as far as just the look of the figures. But as far as scaling goes, as far as height, I think they work really well together. All right, so let's talk about price here real quick. I picked this box set up for $70 on eBay. I think I paid $13 in shipping, so 83 bucks altogether. That comes out to, what is that, $17 a figure, give or take, something like that. I don't know. Your math's probably better than mine, but it's under $20 a figure easily by quite a bit. I want to say it's like $16, $17 a figure. Is that a good deal? Hell yes, it is. Brand new Green Lantern set, less than $20 a figure. That's a fantastic deal. Now, that being said, I do see the average price on this go for between $100 and $120. So I got a really good deal. But usually with shipping, I see it go for about $100 to $120. Now, even at $120, you're paying roughly, $25 a figure, $24 a figure, I should say. Is it still worth it at $24 or $25 a figure? I would say yes. I mean, for a brand new set, you're getting a brand new figure, 25 bucks a figure. I think it's still worth it at that price. I wouldn't pay more than that for it. I wouldn't pay more than $25 a figure for this setup. So, my high would be like $125. That's with shipping and everything. I wouldn't pay more than that. But I'd say anywhere up to that point, if you can find this set, I do think you're getting a good deal. I think these are great figures. And as long as you don't mind the articulation being older, if you do, then obviously this isn't for you. But as far as just the sculpts and the looks and the scale and how they work with other figures in your collection, I mean, unless you're just exclusively a 7-inch McFarlane collector, these are absolutely fantastic, and I think definitely worth the money. Certainly worth what I paid, and again, up to that $125 mark, I think they're still worth it, in my opinion. But, let me know in the comment section down below what you think. Also, let me know what you think about the whole idea of, even though I started doing it a couple years ago, what do you guys think about going back and picking up older Mattel figures now that Mattel is going to be getting the license here in a little over a year? A lot of people are anticipating it's going to be, 6-inch scale, that kind of thing. Do you think it's worth going back and picking up older figures if you've never done it before? I think it might be. But for me, I just started picking these figures up because I just liked the figures on their own, not because I knew anything about Mattel taking over. I think that's a nice bonus, but, would love to hear what you guys think down in the comment section down below. But I appreciate you guys watching. I love these figures. I think if you're a DC fan, you'll love these figures too. So let me know what you think. As always, guys, I appreciate you watching, and always remember to enjoy your collection.